Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to use the Jedi Photoshop action. So what you can do with this action is you can transform yourself into a Jedi, and the way the action works is you open your photo, you brush your subject with a color and just play the action, and here's the effect that the action creates. So as you can see, the action creates a lot of details. So the action creates these Jedi's robe and also the Jedi's lightsaber. There is a lot of details in the background, the light effects and the glow effects and other. So the results that you get are fully layered, and there is a lot of options for customizing the results after the action has finished. You can easily change the color of the Jedi robe or of the lightsaber, and you can also choose from the 9 preset color looks to change the color of the overlay effect. Alright, so just gonna close down these two windows now. So after you open your photo, before you start using the action, there are just a few things you need to check just to make sure that the action will run without any errors. So the first thing you should check is that your photo is the background layer. So it should be called the background and have this little lock icon. And if it happens that you have something like this or anything else, you just go to the layer, new, and choose the background from layer. Alright, then click on this menu icon over here and choose the panel options. So make sure you have these options here checked, the add copy to copied layers and groups. Right, then go to the image mode and make sure your photo is the RGB color mode 8-bit count. You can also check the image size from here. For the best results, you should use the images that are around from 25 to 4500 pixels wide or high. Alright. Now to load the action, you go to Window, Actions, and here in the Actions panel you click on this menu icon over here and choose Load Actions. And here just select the Jedi action that came with download and choose Load. The action folder will appear here in your Actions panel. So you find the main Jedi action here and also the Update Sharpening action. Now what you also need to do is you need to load the patterns. So you can just select the pattern stamp tool from here. You click on this little arrow here on the gear icon and choose Input Patterns. And here again just select the Jedi Patterns file that came with download. You choose Load and the folder will appear here. So now what I want to do is, before I start using the action, I just want to expand the canvas a little bit here at the top. So I want to have more space around the subject on the top. Right, so how to do that is you just go to the image, canvas size, and here you can just check the relative option and choose in which direction you wish to expand the canvas. So if I click here, I'm choosing the direction to expand the canvas here at the top, and I'm just gonna add 250 pixels, which is okay. Alright, and if you want, you can fill these to blend it with the background. You can select it with the Magic Wand tool, for example, and go to the Edit, Fill, and just fill it with the Content Aware. And you can now just press Ctrl D on your keyboard to deselect the selection, and this step isn't necessary, so you can do it if you like to blend it with the background, but you don't have to, because the action will create the background that will cover the whole background here, so that transition won't be visible. Alright, so now what you have to do is to go to the layer, new layer, to create a new layer, and name it brush. And it's very important here that you spell this correctly, so all letters are lowercase, because otherwise the action won't work. So make sure you type the brush exactly like this, choose OK. And now while this layer is selected, you can just hit B on your keyboard to select the brush tool, right click anywhere inside the canvas, pick a soft brush. You can use square brackets on your keyboard to quickly change the size of the brush. And you can just click here to choose the color pick doesn't matter, so just pick some color that you will clearly see what you have brushed, and simply brush your subject, just like that. And what you can also do here is you can make a selection of your subject and then fill it with a color. So in that case, you need to select the background layer, you need to make a selection of the subject, and then select the brush layer again and fill the selection where this layer is selected. Alright, so it's important that you have that color fill on this brush layer. It doesn't matter if you have brushed or filled the selection with a color, just make sure that that selection is on the brush layer. So I already done the brushing before, so I'm just gonna open up my PSD file. Here it is. Alright, so here I already done the brushing, and as I mentioned, you can just make a selection, fill it with the color, or simply brush with the brush tool, it doesn't matter. So just make sure to have the color fill on the brush layer. So all you have to do now is to just select the Jedi action and click play. Alright, so the action has just started with a message, and it says here in the next pop-up window, choose the Jedi Robe PSD file that came with download and click open, choose continue to proceed, so you choose continue, and you select the Jedi Robe file that came with download and choose open. Here it is, and here you got another message. So what you need to do here is, using the move tool, you click and hold and drag this layer into your photo document, just like that. And now what you need to do is to press Ctrl T on your keyboard to transform this Jedi Robe to suit your subject. Alright, so what I'd like to do here is to just drop down the opacity of this layer to something like 50%, so I can better see how this robe suits the subject. Alright, and so just gonna increase the size of the robe, something like this, and now I need to position it. Alright, so focus here most on the subject face. If your subject shoulders or any part are going out of the robe area, don't worry about it, the action will fix that. So also if you have some empty spaces here between the subject and the outer part of the robe, also don't worry about it, so the action will fix everything. You need to make sure just that the subject face suits the robe properly. Alright, so after you finish with that, you bring back the opacity to 100%. You can confirm the changes and you just play the action again. And the action stops again with a message, so this time we need to select the Jedi lightsaber. So you click open. And again we're going to choose stop. Using the move tool I'm going to click and drag this lightsaber into the photo document. Again press Ctrl T on your keyboard to transform it. I'm just gonna increase the width and height to 200%. Just need to position it. Alright, just gonna position it like this. And just gonna confirm the changes. So now all you have to do is to just click play again and the action will continue to work. And I'm going to fasten the video here and I'm going to get back as soon as the action is finished, and then I'm going to go throughout all the layers to show you how can you customize the results that you get. Alright, so the action has just finished, so I'm just gonna close down the actions panel for now, and I'm going to expand a little bit this layers panel. Just like that. So the first thing you probably want to do each time you run the actions is to just quickly close down all these folders. So how can you quickly do that is to just hold Ctrl and Alt buttons for PC or Command Option for Mac. And while you have the Jedi folder selected, you just click on this little arrow here, just like that. And this way you're going to close down all the folders. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start customizing this effect from the bottom. So the first layer we got here is just the original photo layer, the background layer. And the next we got is the background color. So when you double click here, you can change the color of the background. Alright. This effect usually works best with the darker colors. You can experiment with different colors, of course. Alright, I'm just gonna keep the default one. And when you click on this little arrow here, you'll see there is the gradient overlay effect. So you can double click on this effect, and what you can do here is you can scale this light source. And you can also change the style of the light source. It's set to radial, so you can use any other kind of the light source. And what you can also do is you can change the opacity. So the opacity here is changing the intensity of the light source. Alright, I'm just gonna keep this one default. And the next we got here are the background textures. So there are 3 textures here included. And whenever you want to see how each layer affects the design, the best thing to do is to just turn off that layer and then turn it on, so you can exactly see how it affects the look of the effect. So what you can do here is you can play with the opacities of these layers. Alright. And the next we got here are the small particles. And we also have the large particles layers. Alright. And when you open the folders, you'll see that each of these layers have the main layer and have its glow layer. Alright, and there are some layer masks. What you can do here, if there is any particle that you want to remove, you basically select that layer mask. So just gonna select the layer mask of this layer, and you choose the soft brush, set from color to black, and you simply brush over that particle just like that. So I'm also going to remove the glow of that particle just like that, and it's also going to remove this one here. Alright, what you can also do here is you can select the whole folder. You can press Ctrl T on your keyboard. You can transform the particles if you like, so you can rotate them, scale them, or make any other transformations if you like. Alright, and what you can also do, of course, you can change the opacity of these layers if you want, so you can just drop it down if you don't want that particles are that much visible, or even if you want them to be more visible, what you can do is you can just duplicate the whole folder. You can increase the intensity, or you can duplicate the folder and then transform this folder to create more particles just like that. Okay, so the next what we got here is the glow folder. Alright, and when you open the folder, you'll see there are several layers here. Each of these layers is creating a different type of the glow effect. What you can do here, you can play with the opacities of these layers if you like. You can use the layer mask to remove any specific part of the glow if you like. And you also notice there is a layer mask over here. So if I just shift click on the layer mask to turn it off, you'll see that it will increase the intensity here. So what this layer mask does, it basically fades the glow effect a little bit here at the bottom. So what you can do is you can open the properties panel, and if you change the density to 100%, you're going to completely remove the glow in this bottom area. So you can just Alt or Option click on the glow layer, glow folder layer mask, and wherever you see the black color, the glow is not visible. So you can see that what you're gonna get with this layer mask is that the glow will start to fade from here, and here it won't be visible. Alright, and if you drop down the density, you're gonna start revealing. And what you can also do is you can press Ctrl T and you can transform this layer mask if you like, or you can just drag it down. Alright, just gonna drag it a little bit down, something like that, and I'm going to set the density something like this. So I just want to fade the bottom part of the glow just a little bit here at the very end. Alright, just like that. I'm gonna keep everything other as default. So the next what we got here is the subject folder. When you open the folder, what we got here is the main subject layer. Alright, and the next we got is the subject saturation. So when you double click on this layer thumbnail in the properties panel, you can adjust the saturation of the subject. So you can see how the saturation changes. It's also going to affect the color of the subject because of the other color layers. So I'm just gonna remove the subject saturation in this example. Alright, so you can always experiment with these. You can increase the saturation if you like. If you desaturate the subject completely, you're gonna get the color of the color looks here. Alright, so the more you're dropping down the value, you will have more the original subject color. Alright, and the next one we got here is the subject highlights boost. So this layer, if you turn it on and off, you'll see it going to boost the highlights of the subject. And what you can do here in the properties panel is you can drag this highlight slider as you like. Alright, and the next we got the subject brightness. So here we got another levels layer that you can use to adjust the overall brightness of the subject. So how this works is you got 5 sliders here. And this one here is boosting, or this one here is boosting the shadows, this one here is boosting the highlights, this one here is boosting or fading the midtones, and you got another two sliders here, so this one is gonna fade the shadows, this one is gonna fade the highlights. So you can make any changes here if you like. You can boost highlights here again. This layer has a little bit different settings than this one, so it's going to affect the highlights differently than this layer here. Alright. And the next we got here, it says Darken subject details, brush white into mask. So with this layer, what you can do is you can select the layer mask. You choose the brush tool, you set foreground color to white. You pick a soft brush, and if there is any part of the subject you wish to darken, for example, you got the visible t-shirt here, and if you wish to remove it or simply darken it to complete black, you can simply brush with this brush tool into this layer mask over that part. You're going to completely darken it. You can control the amount of darkening here with this slider. Alright, I'm going to show you how that works. So what you can also use this layer for is to add the more shadow around the subject's face here. So you basically can just brush around just like that, for example. And then with this layer, you can control how much you really want to darken that area. Alright. In this example, I'm not going to use this layer as I don't need it, so I'm just gonna skip over it. And the next we got here is the Jedi Robe, so just gonna open the folder. And what we got here is the main robe layer. Alright. And this layer has a layer mask here that's gonna fade a little bit these shadows. Also the main folder has a layer mask too. And it may happen sometimes, depending on your image size, that the subject here exceeds a little bit these Jedi Robe. So as the Jedi Robe here is faded, it may happen the subject goes a little bit through that faded area. So in that case, you simply drop down the feather value here, and you can also drop down the density if you like. Alright, I'm going to explain you later how that works. So now what we got here is the robe layer, and you got the drop shadow effect. When you double click there, what you can do is you can adjust the drop shadow. Drop shadow effect will mainly affect the shadow here inside. As you can see, it's going to add here the shadow to the subject's face. Alright, it's also going to just a little bit affect the glow here on the outside. So I'm just going to darken it a little bit, and what you can do here is you can adjust the size. So I'm just going to drop it down, something like that. And you can change the opacity here, so I'm just going to set it 100%. Alright, just like that. And just going to turn on this layer mask again. So what we got here now are the two texture layers. So how can you customize these textures? Is you just double click on the pattern overlay here, and now you can change the opacity of the texture if you like. You can scale the texture. You can also click here and move to reposition it. Alright, it's the same with the robe texture 1 layer, just a different texture. It works the same. So you can customize these however you like. I'm just gonna keep it default. And we also got the robe brightness layer here, so it's going to darken it up. And as you see, there is a layer mask here that's going to remove the this darkening over the area behind the lightsaber. So it's going to light that area a little bit like that. Alright, so you can double click here and you can adjust the brightness of the Jedi Robe the same as we were doing for the subject layer here. Alright. And if you wish to add any more highlights to the Jedi Robe, you simply brush with the brush tool and the black foreground color. So you can brush wherever you wish to add the highlights, just like that. And if you wish to change the robe color, what you need to do is you double click this layer here, the robe layer. And here what you can do, you shouldn't worry about the layer mask here, so you just leave them as they are. And what you can adjust here is the shadow and reflection adjustments to the robe, and here you can change the color. So how this works is you basically choose any color here. For example, I'm just gonna desaturate this one, and let's say something like this, and you choose OK, and when you press Ctrl S or Command S to save the changes, these changes will automatically be applied here. So you're going to change the color of the Jedi robe. So you can use any color, right, just like that. So you can always go a step back and return to the original colors. Alright, so you can choose any color here, you save the changes, and the changes will automatically be applied here. Okay, so now what we got here is the layer mask I mentioned earlier. So what you need to do here is you can adjust the feather of the layer mask, right? And the density here, so if you set the density to 100%, you will have the black and white layer mask. So where you have the black color, the layer will be removed completely. Where you have the white color, it's going to be revealed completely. So when you start lowering the density, you can fade these up. So you can soften these, position with this layer, with the feather and the density. All right. And next, what we got here is the Jedi lightsaber. All right. So this is the main layer, and we got these two glow layers. So what you can do is you can change the opacities of these layers if you like, increase the glow. And what you can also do is you can expand the effects of the main lightsaber layer, and you'll see that there are the inner glow and the outer glow effects. So when you double click on the outer glow, you can make any changes here, like the size of the glow. You can change the opacity, and you can also change the color here. So you can choose any color that you like. Feel free to use any color, and you can do the same for the inner glow. By default, there's just some subtle color here, so it's almost white. You can use any changes that you like, right? And the main color layer also affects the lightsaber color, so you can sometimes just turn off the colorless layer until you set up the color of the lightsaber. Alright, so the next one we got is the darkening layer. So as you can see, this layer is going to darken the outside of the middle area of the canvas. So what you can do here is you can double click here, and you can change the scale to control how wide the area that's not dark is going to be. So you can expand or contract the darkening area. You can also change the type of the lighting here if you like. Alright, I'm just gonna leave it default. And you can also change the opacity here. Okay, and here we got the light source layer. So this layer is basically going to do the opposite thing. So this layer is creating the light effect here at the middle. And again, you can change the scale. You can also change the type of the light source. Alright, and you can set it to linear and use any angle that you like, or you can just set it to radial, just as you like. Alright, and again, you can change the intensity of the light source here by changing the opacity. The default settings work pretty much well here, so just gonna keep them default. And what we got here are the color looks. So when you open the folder, what you're gonna see are the 9 color looks, and you can choose from different colors here. So all you have to do is to turn off the blue color that's turned on by default and simply try with another. And you can always, when you pick the color look, you can get back to the lightsaber layer and then just choose the color according with the color look that you've chosen. You can also grab the color here from the photo for the lightsaber, just like that. Okay, and you simply try with the different colors here, see which one works best. You can also try combining the colors, and what you can also do is when combining colors, you can play with the opacities. Alright, so for example, you turn on these two and then you lower the opacity of this layer, just like that. You can also control the opacity of the second layer. Alright, And what you also got here is the double color look. So this is an interesting one. You turn it on, and as you can see, it's going to create the double color look. And what you can do is you can open the folder here, and you can double click on this gradient fill thumbnail, and you can now choose any colors here that you like. Alright, so you can make your own color combination. Just like that. Alright, so in this example I'm going to use the default color, the blue one. And the next we got is the overall contrast. So how you adjust the contrast, you just change the opacity of this layer. I'm just going to increase it a little bit. And here we got the overall brightness. So double click here, and using these 5 sliders we talked about earlier, you can adjust the brightness of the whole effect. And here we got the overall vibrance and saturation. So when you double click here, you can use these 2 sliders here in the properties panel to adjust the vibrance and saturation of the effect. So I'm just going to boost both a little bit, something like that. Okay, and lastly what we got here is the overall sharpening. So this layer is giving sharpening to the effect, but if you made any changes here to the effect with any of these layers, what you need to do is to create this layer again. So how to do that? You just run the update sharpening action. So you select the update sharpening action, you click play, and the action is going to do it for you. So you're going to get the new sharpening layer. So you should always do this whenever you make any changes, because in this way you're going to get the correct sharpening for the effect. And that's it. Let's just quickly check the before and after. So this is the before effect, and here's the after. Alright, so I hope you understood everything, but if you still need any help or you got any questions, feel free to contact me anytime via my Envato profile page. Thanks for watching.